Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that can totally change the game for a nonprofit's finances. I'm talking about recurring donation programs. It's really all about finding some solid ground in a world that, can feel pretty shaky. Does this feel familiar? For a lot of folks in the nonprofit sector, the whole fundraising cycle is just, it's a total roller coaster, right? You get these amazing peaks, and then boom, these terrifying dips. And trying to plan anything long-term with that kind of uncertainty, it's a huge headache. And hey, this chart probably looks really familiar to a lot of you. It's that classic pattern, right? You get this massive flood of donations at the end of the year. We're talking up to 30% of your entire annual take. And then, crickets. The spring and summer hit, and everything just dries up. That kind of swing makes for some seriously unstable cash flow.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk more about that roller coaster. Then we'll get into why recurring donors are such a huge advantage. After that, we'll look at how you actually build one of these programs and how to know if it's working. And we'll wrap up by looking at what all that stability really means.
All right, first section. Let's really dig into this idea of moving away from that wild, unpredictable ride and towards something much more stable. Okay, so why is this recurring model such a game changer? Well, let's look at the numbers, because they really tell the story.
And wow, when you put them side by side, the difference is it's night and day. Look at this. The retention rate for a one-time donor, it's usually less than 20%. But for recurring donors, we're talking 80 to 95%. And that means they stick around for like 5 to 8 years, compared to maybe 18 months for someone who just gives once.
Just let that sink in for a minute. 80 to 95%. Can you imagine having a group of supporters that you know with that level of certainty are going to be there for you year after year? That's not just a donor base. That's a rock-solid foundation you can actually build your mission on.
And it gets even better. On top of just being incredibly loyal, these recurring donors actually give more money over the course of a year. We're talking 42% more on average than a one-time giver. So not only do they stick around, they give more while they're here. That value just stacks up.
Okay, now this is where the magic really happens. Even tiny little improvements in keeping your donors have a massive payoff. Get this, just a 10% bump in retention can increase a donor's total lifetime value by a whopping 200%. I mean, that's just insane leverage.
All right, so we've definitely covered the why. You get it, it's powerful. So, now for the how. Let's walk through a super simple 3-step blueprint for building one of these programs from the ground up. So it all comes down to these 3 things. 1, make it ridiculously easy to give. 2, show people the long-term impact they're having. And 3, offer some nice incentives to thank them. See the pattern? It's all about the donor, their experience, and what makes them tick.
So step 1 is all about making things easy. You want to remove any friction you possibly can. And check out this stat, because it's pretty wild. Just by making monthly the default option on your donation form, that one tiny tweak can boost your gift volume by up to 636%. Now, that's not a typo. It's a tiny change that makes a ginormous difference.
And this is exactly what fundraising expert Jen Gaetano is talking about. It's all about making it visible. When you make monthly the first thing people see, it normalizes it. It becomes the standard. You're not just asking for a donation. You're kind of gently guiding people toward the option that makes the biggest difference. Okay, next up, and this is so important. You have to connect people to the mission. And I don't mean sending them spreadsheets. No, you gotta tell them stories. Show them the faces of the people they're helping. Maybe even create a cool name for your monthly donors, like the Conservation Champions or something, so they feel like they're part of an exclusive club. And key point, give them regular updates on their impact without asking for more money every single time. And if you want proof that this works, just look at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are absolute pros at this. A full 75% of their online revenue comes from recurring donations. And they do it by focusing their message on one simple ask, just $11 a month. It's brilliant.
All right, so you've got your program up and running. Awesome. But how do you know if it's actually healthy? Let's talk about the key numbers you need to be watching to make sure it's on the right track and how to make it even better.
First things first, let's get a key term on the table, churn rate. You're going to hear this one a lot. All it is the rate at which you lose your recurring donors. It could be because they actively cancel, or maybe their credit card just expires. Either way, it's a super important number that tells you how sticky your program is.
So think of this list as your program's dashboard. These are the dials you need to watch. You've got your monthly recurring revenue, your MRR. That's your predictable income. You've got to keep an eye on that churn rate we just talked about. Then there's donor retention and lifetime value, which tell you the big picture story. Looking at all of these together shows you exactly what's working and what needs a little tune-up.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We've talked about the why and the how, but now let's talk about the ultimate prize. What does all this work actually unlock? What is the true power of having this kind of stability?
I mean, look at this comparison. It's a total transformation. When you're on that roller coaster, you're always reacting, always putting out fires. But when you build that stable foundation, you can actually plan for the long term. You can think strategically. You can stop stressing about fundraising 24/7 and actually focus on delivering your mission. It is literally the difference between surviving and thriving.
And this quote from Alex Huntsberger just hits the nail on the head. He says, predictable revenue creates stability for both your mission and the people it serves. It's not just about your organization's bottom line. It's about creating a reliable, stable source of help for the community you're dedicated to. It's a win for everybody.
So, I want to leave you with this one question. Just think about it for a second. What could your mission achieve if you had real, true financial stability? If you weren't always worried about where next month's money is coming from? What huge, audacious goals could you finally go after? That is the power of predictable giving.